My baked rotini with ground beef and tomato sauce recipe is an easy and delicious casserole. Although all pasta is great, the grooves of rotini spirals are perfect for holding small bits of ground meat and diced vegetables, making it the perfect choice for a casserole. This dish has plenty of ground meat, vegetables, tomato sauce, and cheese. So if you like baked spaghetti or baked masticholi, but you want something different, you have to give this recipe a try. Here I have my 8x8 casserole dish that is already buttered, and I already prepared the pasta. I am using half of a 1-pound box, so 8 ounces of whole wheat rotini. I brought a pot of salted water to a boil on high heat. I added the pasta, boiled it on high for 12 minutes, then I drained it, and after I let it dry for a few minutes, I used the residual heat to melt in 1 tablespoon of butter to give the rotini that delicious shine. Like I said, I'm going to add some ground beef. I have half of a pound of lean ground beef, but you can use Italian sausage, chicken, turkey, pork, whatever you have. And I'm also going to use a little over half of a pound of diced vegetables. Here I have half of a medium onion, some red bell pepper, a stalk of celery, and a small carrot that I grated on a cheese grater. You can use whatever you have on hand, about half a pound of diced vegetables. Of course, there's tomato sauce. I have one 24-ounce jar of tomato sauce. I'm not sure how much I'm going to use. I'll see how it goes. And I'm also going to add 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. That is optional, but if you've never used tomato paste, I highly recommend you give it a try. It's really just concentrated tomato, and if you really want to give your tomato sauce a ton of tomato flavor, I highly recommend adding some of that. Can't forget the cheese. I'm using 1 8-ounce block of mozzarella. Half of it I'm going to put into the casserole, and half of it I'm going to mix with a 1/4 cup of sour cream, full fat sour cream in here. I'm going to mix that together and use it as a topping for the casserole. I'm going to add some spices, 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, basil, oregano, and parsley, along with 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, because the vegetables and the meat do not have any salt, and 1 egg to bind everything together. I'm also going to add some more spices to the topping, about maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon each of all of the spices. Like I said, the rotini is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the meat and the vegetables. In the interest of time and to cut down on the oil and save some calories, I'm actually going to microwave the vegetables. So here I have a microwave safe dish. I'm just going to put everything in there, and I'm going to microwave for 5 minutes and 5 minutes, so 10 minutes covered and then 2 minutes uncovered, so a total of 12 minutes while I brown the meat. And when the meat's almost done, I'm going to add 1 small garlic clove. It's only been a couple minutes since I added the ground beef to a pan with a little bit of vegetable oil on medium heat, and as you can see, it's pretty much done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my clove of garlic and cook it for maybe 1 more minute. I'm adding the garlic at the end because I don't want it to burn. Burned garlic is very bitter. I just want to release the flavor. Then I'll go ahead and add this to the rotini. My ground beef is done, as are my vegetables. Now it's time to start putting this baked rotini casserole together. I'm going to stir that in. You can use whatever tomato sauce you want. I am using a tomato, basil, and garlic. Like I said, you can use your favorite. This is already pretty saucy, but I still think some tomato paste is going to do it good. I'm going to add that in. Like I said, this is just for more tomato flavor. Maybe it's just me, but recently I feel like tomato sauce isn't quite as flavorful as it used to be. For some reason, I feel like a lot of things don't have the flavor that they used to have. So if you think your favorite pasta sauce is lacking in flavor, or you just want more tomato flavor, add some tomato paste. That will help. I mixed in all of the 24-ounce can of tomato sauce and all of the 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and I think this is what I want. Now for the spices. Like I said, 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, basil, oregano, and parsley. Oh, can't forget the salt. I said 1/8 of a teaspoon because the meat didn't have any salt, the vegetables didn't have any salt, so a little bit's okay. I'm gonna taste it. Tastes good. Now for the cheese. Like I said, I'm mixing in half of the block now, and half of the block will be mixed with some sour cream to put on top. I mix in the cheese. I like the way it tastes, so now it's time for the egg. This egg is just to help bind everything together so that the baked rotini casserole holds its shape when cut. But if you forget this, it is fine. It will not ruin the casserole at all. Everything's mixed together. So now into my buttered 8x8 casserole dish it goes. I'm gonna smooth it out and then I'll go to the topping as I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it's time to focus on the topping. Like I said, half of the block of cheese and 1/4 cup of full fat sour cream, and somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 teaspoon each of all the spices. Garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, basil, oregano, and parsley. I know this might seem kind of odd, but I like to put a cheese and sour cream topping on my casseroles. It adds a nice tanginess. It's very nice. I highly recommend it. Now, the rotini casserole right now is not a solid base, so spreading out the topping easily is kind of challenging. So what I do is I just put it on the top in dollops, for lack of a better way of describing it. Like this. And then I just spread it out as best I can. What I do, like I said, the best you can, but it will melt out and in as it's in the oven. Now that the topping is on the casserole, it's going to go into a 350 degree oven uncovered. I just pulled my baked rotini casserole out of the oven. It was in at 350 degrees Fahrenheit uncovered for 45 minutes. I wanted to brown the cheese a little bit, but honestly, you could pull it out at probably 35, maybe even 30 if you wanted. As you can see, my baked rotini looked absolutely incredible. Really cheesy, really saucy. I couldn't wait to dig in. And when I took the first bite, I realized that my baked rotini with ground meat and tomato sauce casserole tasted just as good as it looked. Although I thought that all the flavors were pretty well balanced, I thought the thing that really caught my palate's attention was the tomato sauce. As I showed earlier in the video, I added a whole large jar of tomato sauce along with the 6-ounce can of tomato paste. I think that the tomato paste is really what brought out the tomatoey flavor. along with adding the extra spices, especially the basil and garlic. That's what really brought out the tomato flavor. In terms of the cheese, I could definitely pick up on it inside of the casserole, but it wasn't really until I got to the topping that I really felt like this was super cheesy. Although you definitely don't have to make the topping that I did, mixing the cheese with the sour cream and the spices, I highly recommend that you give that a try because the sour cream added some extra tang that went really well with the tanginess of the tomato. Although I thought that the mozzarella worked well in this, next time I'll probably try some sort of cheddar, probably a sharp cheddar. Because just like with the sour cream, I think that extra bit of tang would work really well in this. And of course, there was the rotini itself. Because I used whole wheat rotini, it had a nice nuttiness in the background. So all parts of this casserole had plenty of flavor. And now that I'm showing a slice up close, you can see just how full of everything this was. This was my first time making baked rotini with ground meat and tomato sauce, and honestly, I thought it turned out really well. Really, the only changes I would make to this would be, like I already mentioned, trying cheddar in place of mozzarella, and in addition to the ground beef, adding a little bit of Italian sausage. I'm not sure why, but I think that the fennel seeds in sweet or mild Italian sausage combine very well with tomato-based pasta dishes. You could definitely use all Italian sausage if you wanted, but honestly, I think that a combination of lean ground beef and Italian sausage is what I would try. But really, I think you could use any type of ground meat in baked rotini, whether it be beef, sausage, pork, chicken, turkey, whatever you have. Like I've already said, I really liked how this cheesy baked rotini with ground meat and tomato sauce casserole turned out. I was really glad that I added the extra spices as well as the small can of tomato paste. I think the tomato paste does a really good job of bringing out the tomato flavor. This baked rotini reminded me of something like baked spaghetti, baked ziti, baked mastacholi, even lasagna. So if you're craving a hearty comfort food style pasta dish, but you want to switch things up, give this baked rotini a try. If you want some other ideas on how you can make this baked rotini recipe your own, be sure to check out Heather D's recipe. I'll try to remember to leave a link below in the description box to her video. Like I said, this turned out really well, so I hope you give it a try. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.